Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host TC, and today we'll be reviewing the Salomon Fish. This board is equipped with Salomon's powder camber profile, so what that means is you're gonna have a big old rocker section in the nose with more of that setback camber. Literally the apex is gonna be right at your back foot here. They say there's a tiny bit of rocker in the tail. I didn't feel it. I really don't believe there is any in there. So really what that's gonna do is have all that power on your back foot for landing and really driving off it. And then in the nose here, it's gonna help with float and ease in and out of turns as well. This board comes in sizes of 149, 153, 157, and 162. I rode this board at Copper Mountain where we got about 3-4 inches the night before. They groomed the center of the run, so there were perfect groomers there. On the sides and in the trees, there was pretty much anywhere up to boot deep snow where it was nice and fresh. Same with the hike twos. It was just overall pretty much every condition you could go for, where it was a little bit overcast, a little bit blowing wind, but visibility was still really good that day. I used my Ride Fuse boots and Jones Mercury bindings. When it comes to flex, this board overall is going to be right in the middle of the road there, where your nose does feel definitely softer because of that rocker section in it, and your tail is going to feel a little bit stiffer because of that setback camber and the less rocker zone in it. Where when you torsionally flex this board, it wants to snap back to that original form, so it does feel a little bit, or you do have a little bit of resistance in it. When it comes to stability, this board is very lively, it feels like, where you do feel those push piles underneath you, but you don't quite feel that fresh corduroy underneath your foot, where when you got it into that fresh snow and everything, that nose wanted to pop up. If you were ripping it on groomers, however, you felt that or you would see that nose flopping around. You really didn't feel it quite as much when you were actually riding. When you're ollieing this board, the main thing to realize is you really don't have a lot of tail, but that being said, when you do load this tail up, it does return quite a good snap to it, where on a lot of fish boards, you feel like it's coming straight from under that back foot, you're doing all the work. On this one, you feel like it does a little bit extra work for you just because of that setback camber on it. It does feel stable taking off and landing, just don't expect to go to the moon on this board. Hey guys, make sure you like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any videos we have coming out. When you're buttering this board, the main thing to keep in mind pretty much is all of your fun is gonna be coming from the nose here, where you have a nice sweet spot. When you flex into it, you just quick shift your hips right over this logo, and that's where your sweet spot's gonna be. It holds really well, especially in powder. You can just shift those hips real easy, and it does kind of wanna pop you out when you're buttering in the powder. When you are buttering on groomers, it feels a little bit different. You still have that same sweet spot. It just doesn't want to hold quite as easy. You're going to put a little bit more effort into it. When you get back to the tail, buttering in powder, that thing wheelies, it wants to just sink in, and it pretty much almost feels flat in the tail, where you do have a good surface there to just sit back on it. When you're buttering it on just smooth groomers, it feels much different. Your sweet spot's pretty much gonna be right after your foot there, where it's not as big, it doesn't wanna hold quite as easy, you're gonna put more weight into it, and it does return a little bit of pop out, but just don't be expecting that same pop like that's on the nose there. When you're carving on this board, it feels a little bit two-faced, I would say. When you're going slow on those small, short carves, those medium ones, even those larger carves when you're just taking it at a cruising speed, you feel that nose really engage. Now, when you're at higher speeds and you go for those larger carves, that Euro carve even, you feel all that power in the tail. So that nose will disengage, you just stand right on that back foot and it's gonna hold an edge, lay a trench, lay down a great Euro carve. But when you're on all of those groomers and everything, it does carve very well, very smooth and comfortable, holds an edge really well. When you get towards those 3-inch days to even deeper, where we found those deeper spots, it holds well. It does get a little bit pushed out, I would say, where you go into those bigger push piles, you're gonna feel it, but it will hold that edge once you get out of that push pile. So there's really nothing to worry about there, especially because you want this board to carve and powder really well. Rider in mind. This board is made for that guy that wants to take that low angle pow to the next level. They're trying to find those stashes that people really can't get to, or they're trying to find those days where they didn't get that fresh day out there, so they want to find something the next day that still hasn't been touched and still is gonna rip. If you guys like what we have going on, make sure you head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I really enjoyed this board. It was a great board for literally taking it out on those side hikes that aren't super steep, where we were the only ones really riding it that day. It was super fun. I really enjoyed like laying down some nice slashes on this thing where you could put all your weight on the tail there and still feel stable on it, and then just come out the other side with a good amount of speed where you're not getting stuck or bogged down or anything. The nose floated so well on it that it was actually, I felt it was hard, honestly, to sink it. Like, that thing just wants to pop up and stay up. That tail just wants to sink and just keep you riding, really. It was a great board. Comparable boards: the Libtech MC Wayfinder II, the Stranda Makrill, and the Jones Stormwolf. Binding recommendations: the Salomon Highlander, the Union Force, and the Yes Airmaster. This has been my review of the Salomon Fish. If you enjoyed it, why don't you go check out one of the recommended bindings we have to put on this bad Larry.